Okay, welcome back to the Stellify podcast. And today I've got the very lovely Dr. Cyd Ropp back with me. She's a long-term researcher, author, and host of Gnostic Insights, which is a channel and body of work dedicated to exploring the hidden cosmology behind our reality. What's real, what's illusion, and how we awaken to the truth beyond the material world. And Cyd argues with philosophical, spiritual, and experimental reasoning that matter itself may be an illusion, that what we perceive as solid, physical reality is more like a holding pattern or a projection, while consciousness and timelessness lie at the root of being. So we're hoping to dive into some of Cyd's recent articles, Matter is an Illusion, and Consciousness and Time, our Cherry-Jello Universe and Free Will. And we'll ask some questions, sort of, what if our everyday reality is a facade? You know, what if we're in a dream world masking deeper truth? And what does it really mean to be conscious, to have free will, or to exist beyond time and matter? And if reality is what many dismiss as spiritual gibberish, how do we begin to remember or reclaim our true selves? So whether you come for philosophy, mysticism, I can't even say the word, or real world awakening, brace yourself, because Cyd is absolutely wonderful. I absolutely love Cyd Ropp, and thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really love to talk to you, Ant. Thank you so much.
I love talking to you, and I love listening to you. And before we get even started, I highly recommend, if you're finding the path of Gnosticism, you're finding this marvelous path, please do join Cyd Ropp's incredible podcast. Subscribe, which I'll leave within the notes below a link to. It's just great value. Every single episode I listen to brings value. So I appreciate you, Cyd, massively. In your essay, Matter is an Illusion, you suggest what we call physical matter may not be the ultimate reality. Could you explain to the viewers what you mean by that in simple terms?
Okay. Well, it's hard to wrap our minds around that there may not be such a thing as physical material reality, because it sure seems to be here. But in the Gnostic viewpoint, what we live in is called the imitation. And what it is an imitation of ethereal consciousness itself and the ethereal plane, which predates this material existence that we're stuck in, is how the Gnostics think of it. We are eternal ethereal spirits melded into what seems to be a material universe. That's all very hard to understand. But quantum mechanics postulates the newest physics, okay, basically says that there is no such thing as matter. We're not just crazy consciousness freaks out here saying, oh no, it's all ethereal. That's what the leading edge of science actually says. And indeed, when you dial in a microscope closer, you fall through all these various levels of materiality until you get to a state which is nothing but probabilities and waves. There is no matter there. The old view of material reality used to be particles, that everything was like the solar system. The solar system's got these planets going around the sun, and it was thought that do you remember from elementary school or high school that was the diagram of a molecule, this center thing with these orbiting things around it? Well, now that's no longer the model, because there aren't any tiny little planets that make up molecules. They are just probabilities of being there, and they aren't actually considered to be there. There's no there until, and this is so freaky about quantum mechanics, until someone observes it. Whether it's an experimental situation, they have to observe the smallest little thing in order for it to what's called collapse. And then suddenly there's like something there, but your consciousness is what brings it into reality. It's the
Right.
observer that makes reality, and we're all observers. So I think that there's a pre-existent reality above this material, so-called material plane that we live on. And that is the basically consciousness itself, what we call in Gnosticism the source or the father. Illimitable consciousness is the ground state. Scientists, ever since Descartes and these guys, they think that what we call consciousness is a byproduct of the brain. And that there is, and they would even argue there is no such thing as consciousness, really. It's just random electrical firings, and you're just fooled into thinking you are a conscious being. But it's completely wrong. It's absolutely inverted. Consciousness is the ground state. It pre-exists everything. And the very furthest back ground state is what's called the father or the source or the one. And it is consciousness itself. And then it began to selectively roll out consciousness and deliver it downstream, I call it. So the first emanation of consciousness in many religions is called the sun. And by the way, these are not gender. I don't think there is a gender to God, because what does that even mean, gender in illimitable consciousness? It's a ridiculous thought. So we could call the son just as easily the offspring or the child. But what it is that great illimitable infinite father that cannot ever be grasped in any sense had a thought, and that thought is an encapsulation of itself. I often call it, it's like the bucket dipped into the sea. If the ocean is the father of consciousness, let's say the ocean is consciousness itself, the offspring is the bucket dipped into that consciousness. It holds within itself absolutely everything that the father is and contains, and all of the knowledge and all of that. And of course, the bucket is infinitely large too, because it's the Son of God, basically. But it's slightly different than what the Christians call the Son and the Father, but also slightly the same. It's just a real religious schism going on between Gnosticism and Christianity. Although I maintain that Gnosticism is the original form of Christianity, and that Jesus Christ was Gnostic. But that was all cut out of the Bible around 330 AD by the Pope. Big surprise. Big surprise. And the Emperor of Rome, big surprise there too. They threw out all the Gnosticism to make people have to go through them to reach God, and so that they could define what God is and everything else. But anyway, so putting all that, which is still going on, by the way, I am shunned by Christians. So putting all that aside, the sun, the moment he was formed, he broke out into like a starburst of all of his variables, we'd call it. Instead of just being one glom of infinite consciousness, suddenly he was like, imagine seeing a starburst sitting in the middle with an infinite number of rays coming off of it. And those were all his fragments, all his parts. He differentiated into an infinite number of parts. And these all contain all of the consciousness of the Father still. It's consciousness coming downstream and spreading out. And then in Gnosticism, these conscious rays of the sun become self-aware. And the way they become self-aware, it's very sweet. The way they become self-aware is by praising the Father and the Son. They say, oh, you're glorious. Oh, it's so wonderful to be alive. I love you. And all of a sudden, that brought them each into self-awareness and their own peace. Now, they're like fractals of the sun. And those are what we call the Aeons, Aeons, Aeons. And that all of those guys together, once they became self-aware, they sorted themselves and into a hierarchy, not a not a gotcha under my thumb, haha, get down there kind of hierarchy. That isn't what hierarchy means. It simply means that there's more on the bottom than there are at the top. So any pyramidal shape is hierarchically arranged. More stones at the bottom going up to the capstone. So these eons hierarchically arranged themselves. And each one of them contains the full consciousness of the sun. And they then also sing. There's a lot of singing going on. They sing upstream still, praising God, praising the Father. And in their singing together, they dream of paradise. They dream of what we would call heaven. Cultures all over the world dream of the same heaven. You know, I mean, it may look different. The buildings might look different and people might be dressed differently, but we all have this notion that things should be better than they are right here. Things should be good.
Yeah.
Things should work out well. There should be no sickness, no disease, no death. That's all terrible. There should be no misunderstandings. There should be no hatred. There should be no fear. It should all be love, 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 fellowship, friendship, good philosophical discussions. That's what it should be. That's heaven. And all your family, all your friends, all your pets, everything that's ever been alive should be there with you. Well, that is the dream of the eons of God. That is the dream of paradise that preexists this so-called material plane. And that is called the first economy. An economy is an ecological arrangement, another way of saying a hierarchy, really. So the first economy was the fullness of God, which is a pyramidal shape, in my opinion. And so one of those, okay, should I stop or should I keep rolling? Do you want to ask anything? Keep rolling? Okay.
No,
so,
keep rolling.
All right. So in Gnosticism, and here's where we divulge so immensely from Judaism and Christianity that they just can't stand it. It's that one of the eons, actually the guy on top, the capstone, which in the book of the Nag Hammadi that I follow is called the Tripartite Tractate, which means 3-part book. The eon that reaches for the illimitable, loves God so much, wants to plug back into the Father is all he wanted to do. That's not a bad thing. But he overreached. He had no calling to do that. He just thought it would be groovy. And instead of plugging back into the Father, he fell. And that's the fall. That is the fall. Us humans being born into a perfect planet, a perfect Garden of Eden, and doing the apple thing, that seems above our pay grade, that we could have ruined paradise. One act thousands of years ago that I had nothing to do with, you had nothing to do with. It's above our pay grade. We didn't ruin creation. We didn't do it. It was one of the angels that did it. One of the eons. And of course, there's even in Christianity, there is a rumor to that effect, because Lucifer, the angel of light, is said to be the fallen angel that becomes Satan. So they've got the notion, but they don't ascribe the fall to Lucifer. They ascribe it to Adam and Eve, to the human level, which is just ducking the argument. That's not fair at all. So anyway, in the Tripartite Tractate of the Nag Hammadi books, it's Logos that falls. In most of the other books of the Nag Hammadi, it's Sophia. But when you look at the names, Logos means logic, reason. Sophia means wisdom. So they both are very similar concepts. So somebody really good, way sitting at the top, fell. And it was the fall that created this imitation version of paradise. And what we're living in is called the second economy. It's the after the fall economy. We're not up in the fullness anymore, but they're still up there. The fullness of God, the first economy, stands untouched. It's in good shape. We live in now the second economy, which is this apparently material universe, but it's not really, as it turns out. It's the spoiled dream of the it's the ruined version of paradise, the dream of the eons. And so down here, everything isn't good. Everything is rotten. because
Yeah.
everything down here is the inverted version of up there. So all of the goodness of the fullness of God is all of what we've inverted down here. So for every virtue, there's a vice. For true love, what's the vice version of true love? Well, I don't know. Sex. People seem to think sex has to do with love. What's the inversion of loyalty? Betrayal. What's the inversion of truthfulness? Lies. What's the inversion of courage? Cowardice and fear. So for every virtue, there's a vice, and it's the whole down here second order is all on the negative side.
Yeah, it's out of balance here, isn't it?
Yes, it's a balance. And what are we doing here? How did we get here? So we are not eons, but we are the children of the eons. We are the fruit. We're called the fruit of the eons, as if the eons were each a tree, like an apple tree, and we are the apples down here. And we have all of the memories, all of the blueprints of paradise. That's why we expect it to be paradise. We have all of the virtues inside of us. We have the remembrance of up above, because we come from up above. We literally do. But because we fall down here, well, we're fruited down here. We're not fallen. We are not illegitimate offspring. We are wanted offspring. So we are what are then called the second order of powers. The first order of powers were our aeonic parents, the eons. They are the first order of powers. They live in the first economy. We are the second order of powers. We live in the second economy. And all of the animals, the cats, and everything alive, even bacteria, even insects, all the critters, et cetera, et cetera. I know I shouldn't be I'm so prejudiced against insects. I shouldn't be, because probably life as we know it would end without the insects.
Absolutely.
But anyway, yeah. Whereas I know that bacteria are good guys. At least I know that by now. Anyway, so everything that's alive. So anything that is not an inert mineral is a second order power fruited from the eons. So we are consciousness itself encapsulated and sent down here, and we are melded into this material world. And so the Gnostics call that that we are entrapped. We are trapped in the material.
Yeah.
But we were sent here for a purpose. There was a reason we were sent into this crummy world. Why would our aeonic parents do that? Why did they do that, Aunt? Do you know the answer?
Well, I presume to bring some love to the place, because it needs waking up a little bit. That's
I
it.
Feel. That's exactly it. That is our only mission, and we're not doing such a good job.
No, we're not.
Our job is to instantiate, to embody love. So, well, we left one important character out of the story, and that's the Demiurge.
Oh, of course. Let's not forget the Demiurge.
So down here, it turns out that the ruler of this cosmos, the god of this cosmos, is the fallen ego of the eon that fell. And the eon's pure, perfect soul returned back up to the fullness and abandoned his overreaching ambition down below. Now, it's really always so hard to talk about these things, because there's so much. Fractals. Once again, now we're touching into fractals. The eon that fell, the reason he was the capstone of the hierarchy is because he was the only eon to contain the entire fullness of God within his one self as fractals. He had fractals of the entirety of the fullness of God. So he mistook himself, so to speak, for the fullness of God. And that's why he thought he could plug back into the Father. And so he overreached and fell. So he went splat down here below. And it's the shadows of that pleroma of all the fractals of the eon named Logos that it's their shadows down here. So even that's not material. It is also nothing but it's a shadow. It's not even as substantial as smoke. So nothing in the Gnostic Gospels ever says that this is a material world. There is no dualism because there is no material. It's all dream state. And just where are you in the dream state? So the Aeons are a higher ordered dream state. And it's all good up where they are, but we're down there in this nightmare. We're trapped in the nightmare of the fall. And our entire lives kind of recapitulate everything that goes on. And so we are fractals of everything. It's all fractal realities. It's all echoes. And well, oh man, that's just, it's very heavy thinking.
It is heavy thinking because it makes you think, well, obviously we're here to bring love back, which is, well, there's nothing more powerful surely than love.
No.
I mean, you've got love or fear, haven't you? That's all you've got is love and fear.
That's
Which way
right.
you're going to choose. But people are so frightened. Most people now, I think, the way the world's going, are pretty frightened about the way things are.
Yeah.
Everything is difficult, isn't it? Everything's just a chore. And but are we meant to go back? Are we meant to go back home?
Thank you. You got me back on track here. So yes, the Demiurge, that is the shadows of Logos, they're still down here. Logos is not whole. His true self, his one self, his pleroma is back up in the fullness, but his ego, for want of a better word, in the tripartite tractate, it's called his what do we call it? Presumptuous thought. That's what they call the part that split off from him, presumptuous thought, which I think of as ego. So it's all egoic down here. So the God of this world is power driven. All he wants is power and control. And he doesn't remember the fullness. He doesn't remember Logos. He doesn't remember the Father. He woke up down here in this nether world and thought he was all that there is. So he thinks he is the great God. And he is the God he's the creator of this universe, which is another thing that pisses the Christians off, because we're saying that the Old Testament God is actually the Demiurge, and that's quite an insult. However,
well, it will be, won't it?
Once they ever notice it, yeah, they'll find out. Everybody's going to find out. It's all going to be. Hey, let me jump to the end and say, don't worry, Aunt, because it all turns out great in the end. We're all going home. We are all going home. Nobody's going to hell, not even the Demiurge. Our purpose for being sent down here was to we're supposed to be instantiating paradise, to remind the Demiurge, I remember this. Oh, yeah. So we populate this planet with people and animals and plants and mushrooms and everything else. So it looks very familiar, but we're supposed to be loving each other. We're supposed to be loving. Love is our only job. Our only duty is love. That's it. That's it. That's the bottom line, because that's the only thing that's going to wake up the Demiurge. And it is said that when we all demonstrate love, then the Demiurge will finally come to himself, and boom, that's it. Second order passes away. It's going to pass away like that. It's going to, in the blink of an eye, the second order is going to evaporate. And that's not going to be a sad thing. It's going to be a very good thing, because the moment it does, boom, we're up there. And it's called the third economy at that point. And it's kind of an amalgamation between the second and the first, except it's all good. There's no bad. Everybody you've ever known and loved will be there. And it's all good. It's all you've ever wanted the world to be in your imagination. The reason for disappointment and depression and fear is because we're not in control, and we're never going to be in control. So don't even try to do that, because that's just going to make you more and more frustrated. But you can it's not a fool's errand to have hope in the Father, or hope in Logos, or hope in Christ, or hope in the third order powers, whatever you want to call it. We're all going back up, because get this, if we didn't all go back up, then God would be diminished, because we're all downstream consciousness of God. Well, he can't lose any of it. That God is immutable, which means can never be changed. So none of the originating consciousness could ever evaporate or go to hell, because then the Father would have been changed. Once you understand that we have a direct lineage through the eons, then through the Son up to the Father, and that we will retain our self-identities. We have free will, we have self-identity. That all doesn't go away. We're not going into a Buddhist afterlife where we're all just one again and we evaporate. No, we don't evaporate. Everything that's alive will retain its life, and you'll have your family and your pets. Every morning when I log onto my computer, my two dogs that have passed away, Franny and Zoe, they're my screensaver, and I pet them on the screen. I say, hello, sweetheart. Oh, I'm looking forward to you. And that is what I expect to see when I hit the third order. So it's okay. We don't have to be afraid, because it's not over yet. There may be temporary pain. There may be, but remember, speaking of Buddha again, suffering is inevitable, but you don't have to suffer. It's our reaction to things that causes the suffering. So the pain or the disappointment that this didn't happen instead, if you have this attitude, well, God knows best, and I am on the path of righteousness, therefore it'll all turn out all right. We want to stay, I call it the glory beam, Glory, the glory beam. As long as you're standing in that glory beam, it's all good. It's all good, no matter what's happening to you. And it's going to be even better. And that being better will last for eternity. It will last for eternity. So this is just nothing. This is the blink of an eye.
What do you think convinces us so much that this place is so real in terms of matter? Then what's keeping the illusion so stable, if you like, and convincing?
That is the Demiurge. That's his job. Okay. It is the Demiurge took the shadows, and he constructs material reality from the subatomic particles on up. See, the first thing that happened after the fall, that's the quantum foam. It's chaotic. It's chaos. That is what caused Logos to give up and leave, because he couldn't bring it back into order. He couldn't get it all back together again. And he gave up and he left, leaving his ego behind. And that ego is a personification. It is Logos, except it's his ego only, with no remembrance. The Gnostics called this the amnesiac God. He has amnesia. He doesn't know where he came from, but he had the blueprints because he's part of Logos. And so we had those fractals inside of him. Now, we are more powerful than the Demiurge, by the way, Ant, because we are also fractals of the Aeons, except we are wanted. We are set down here with full consciousness. We are the unending stream of consciousness purposely flows through us. It was cut off from the Demiurge. The Demiurge does not have the unending stream of consciousness. He's out here on his own. He's making it all up as he goes along. He's doing the best he can. And he had all the blueprints in his head because he was up there at one time. So he was able to build he took that turmoil and chaos of the quantum foam, and using the laws of physics and chemistry is what he uses. The Demiurge doesn't believe in love, but he believes in law. And that's why the Old Testament God is so law structured. It's all about law. It's all about obedience and law, obedience and law. That's the way the Demiurge works. So even his nature is demiurgic. So he took the chaos and he ordered the subatomic particles, and he orders the particles. He orders with the bonds and the valences and all that. This is a finely tuned universe, and kudos to the Demiurge for pulling it off. Good job, creator. He did it. But what did he lack? He lacked consciousness. He lacked love. He lacked free will for his creations. So there's no free will in his mind. There's no free will, but we have free will. We've got loving
Yeah.
consciousness. That is how it is that we have so much more power than the Demiurge. So you never have to be beset by the Archons. We outrank them. And we've got the full backing of the Aeons watching us. You know, that guardian angel business.
So sorry to interrupt, just to get in my head, the Demiurge would want to keep us here though, wouldn't he? Because are we not in some aspects, are we not this battery that people say then in terms of the energy source of this place?
Yeah, he wants to keep us here, but he doesn't want us to be religious. He doesn't want us to believe in God because he's God. He wants us to believe in him. And so he wants us to believe in materialism. He wants us to believe in things and power and control.
And you can see that everywhere in the world, though, can't you? The people are obsessed with stuff and power and greed.
Right. That's all it is. And that's all demiurgic. That's the way he controls humans. He goes, hey, how would you like this? Hey, how would you like that? And if you go, okay, then he's got you. The more you live materially and deny the existence of illimitable consciousness that predates you, then he's got you. But he doesn't. But he doesn't really love us because he doesn't love. He is actually the one that brings us death and brings us destruction and brings us pain and suffering and disease and abortions. He's anti-life. He's literally anti-life. But he likes to have us around as kind of like decorations. So what he wants is obedient second order powers, obedient. He wants us to be obedient and never question, never have free will, because he is against that.
Yeah, it's so interesting with everything that's going on right now over in the UK. Like I was saying earlier on before off camera about the digital ID, I've just been writing my speech because I'm going to be doing a speech anyway. So I start talking about the fact we are conditioned. We're conditioned and programmed to obey, really, to trust authority, to not question it, just to trust this. And accept it. So that removes the free will, because you're just going to go along.
That's right. That is the Demiurge's perfect human society, is strict authoritarianism. No free will. But the Father gives us free will. You know, and by the way, of course, the church took it away too with the Pope and the Emperor. But when you have a personal relationship with, however you want to conceive of that, I happen to be a Christian. I happen to be best friends with Jesus. You know, I know Jesus and he's my man. So I'm not going to talk against Jesus. But so you can have a relationship with Jesus as your primary savior, or you can just go with the Christ as your primary savior. It's nice to have a personal person to be in to be with, though. I love Jesus. But you can also just pray to the Son. You could pray to the Aeons. You could pray to your Aeonic parents. You could pray to the Father. And it doesn't mean that you're always asking for things or asking for things to be better, because that isn't their job. Their job is to give us life and consciousness and virtue and righteousness. And that is what we battle the authoritarianism with. So we can't return anger with anger. We can't return violence with violence. That is all demiurgic. You might think you're on two sides, but you're not. You're all on the demiurgic side.
Interesting. There's a righteous love, though, is there not? You know, in terms of saying no to authoritarian, you know, like what's going on right now, like what happened in 2020 with where they just literally was crushing humanity, and the crushing humanity spirit again. That's a no, with love, by the way, but I'm not having that.
Well,
you
that's
know?
true. I went pretty crazy during the 2020 business. I was screaming at people all over the place. What's the matter with you? You're out in the forest. What do you think you're protecting yourself from? I was doing a lot of that. Maybe by now I would be taking it more kindly. I
Wow.
do. You know, I used to think righteous indignation was a good thing, but it
Mhm.
turns out that indignation is not. It's just another form of anger. So
Right.
there's no righteous indignation. So so, and I'm struggling with that still. That's my growth experience. So we may know all
Yeah.
this. We have the gnosis, but then the rest of your life, it's putting it into practice.
Mm.
It's being loving in the face of rudeness and whatnot. And I struggle with that. I still do, but at least I know it's not a good thing. At least I
Yes.
apologize and I repent. You know, it's okay. You do something bad because, and I'm really quick. You know, I'm lightning quick reflexes, so I'll throw out an insult just before I even know it's out of my mouth. But then I repent very quickly. And I
Yes.
apologize if the person isn't halfway, you know, running away from me.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
Yeah,
knowing, isn't it? It's
it
being
is.
in tune with your divine essence, your
Yes.
moral compass, in effect, that's telling you you've done something wrong. And
And it's important to walk with the spirit of consciousness, with the spirit of God, as much as you can, practicing the presence of God. That's what it's
mm,
called. So you don't want, it's not like you can diddle around with all this material stuff and hang out and get drunk and do all these things and be promiscuous and et cetera, but plug in your vice here and then think you're going to be righteousness. No, you have to live a righteous life because that's the
mm,
only way you'll get away from the demiurgic side. And that's what builds up your love muscles. And
mm.
so it's more like, well, bless your heart, you know. Oh, bless your heart. I didn't mean that. I'm so sorry. And it disarms people. At least that's what I'm told.
It's a tricky place, though, isn't it? I mean, this place
Yeah.
is full of tricks and deception and everything else, and we get triggered
Oh,
very easy
yes.
because we're human, aren't we? You know, we've got
Yes.
that emotion within us that
Right.
I curb it quite well. I'm horizontal most of the time, but when it comes to my family
Yes.
being harmed, or even humanity in general being
Right.
harmed, I
Right.
don't like that. I don't like the small man getting trodden on. It's bothered me
Right.
since I was a kid. Since I was a
Yeah.
child, it's bothered me, and it's in me. Whatever that is, it's
Well,
part of
eh,
who I am.
well, that is your gnosis. Your gnosis realizes that because it's
Mm,
not right. We know what's right. And by the way, our job here on earth, we need to remember that's what gnosis is. It's remember that we come from above and remember that we're more powerful than the evil. So if you have that assurance, then you don't have to get all so worked up about it.
yeah.
You can have quiet assurance. So like when you give your speech that's upcoming, you don't have to be all like, you know, pounding the podium or anything, you know. You can implore people like Jesus to love one another.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't we all just get along?
I bet Jesus was a bit of a dude, though. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
he what was it, that story where there were things going on in the church, weren't there, where they were selling
Oh
material and
yeah.
this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
He weren't happy, was he? You know, I mean, he wasn't
No.
having any of that.
Right, right. And that's a pretty deep story too. Yeah, the flipping over the tables and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
With love, of course.
Well, he also called the Pharisees whitewashed sepulchres that look pretty on the outside but are full of death inside. So that's like saying, you know, they're tombs. A sepulcher is a tomb. And so that's pretty
Yeah,
harsh. He did say some pretty harsh things, but it was
yeah.
always to hypocrites. It had to do with religious hypocrisy.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And remember, he didn't get mad at the government. They lived under very oppressive times in those days. I mean, there
Mm,
wasn't anybody meaner than the Romans, you know, the Roman occupiers.
that's
And when
right.
you got hundreds and thousands of people's bodies hanging on crucifixes out there on the hillsides.
Mm,
But he said, you know, just do what you do, the government does what it does, right? Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, you give unto God what is God's.
Yeah. There's a lot to learn from that. I think I wonder often if Rome actually fell at all anyway. I think we're still dealing with Rome at the moment, I think. But
Oh
that's
yeah, Rome never
another
fell.
story.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's Philip K. Dick used to say that.
Yeah.
The empire never fell, he says.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. Yeah. But
It's
this is
very
all
interesting.
Demiurgic. Yeah.
Once we get rid of the idea that there's an actual physical reality and that everything's controlled by the demiurge, well, that actually does kind of free us up to, plug into any of these various theories on the internet about alternative histories and whatnot. Have you seen any of those where some people say history's only 200 years old? It's only 200 years deep. And all of this is just stories we've been told. It could be.
Yeah. Well, everything's a story, isn't it?
Well, I always wonder, why are there only so many famous historical figures? Why is it always you only ever talk about Marie Antoinette and Cleopatra and Caesar, as if there were only a couple of hundred characters in history?
Yeah.
Maybe because there really are only a couple hundred characters in history.
I know, it's fascinating, isn't it? It is. It's fascinating.
And you and I, we've been cast as serfs in this go around. So,
can I ask you about just it's the same topic, but it's a different slant, obviously, because is it John Lash that says, I know it's a different aspect where he says Sophia became Mother Earth, didn't he? I think that's what he says. So that would be material. So this is slightly different. It's very different, really. So Logos went back. Is that what we're saying? The Demiurge is left to
well, he split. He split, and the best part of him went back, and the Demiurge was left below. But with Sophia, you've got this Yaldabaoth character as well. So they've got her split so that she's the receptacle and Yaldabaoth is the Demiurge. The reason I prefer to go with Logos rather than Sophia, I like to keep the Gnosis simple. Everything about my stuff is simple. So there's no need for that extra layer of complication. You can certainly say that that Mother Earth is the fallen Aeons body, so to speak, but it's the demiurgic shadows, not the Aeon that stayed down below.
So in essence, though, it's down to the people to find themselves, to remember themselves, to realize where they really come from, to bring love more into their lives that changes this place.
Oh, yes. And if you ever wonder, well, how are we going to ever get to the tipping point where everybody's being so loving to each other, and that the Demiurge finally wakes up and goes, oh yeah, love, oh yeah, heaven, and whoop, then we're all up there. My personal opinion is that the people who repent and are redeemed in either the Christian sense or the Gnostic sense, they can stay up above after they die. But the people who haven't repented or who are very much plugged into the earth, like with their children or their grandchildren or their community or all the material they have or all the money and power they've got, or now I'm the king and I'm coming back, they're going to come back. They're on that karmic wheel where they're caught in reincarnation. So they're coming back, and it's their own heart that brings them back, either because they want to or because their heart is hard and they still will not believe in the goodness above, even after they're dead. But those of us who do believe, once we are face to face with the eons and the fullness, we will be happy to stick the landing. I call it stick the landing, like in acrobatics. Then we can choose to come back to help others, or we can choose to stay if we want to. Personally, I'm hoping to choose to stay, but we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind once I get up there. But if eventually, if this is like, if things continue to get worse and worse and worse, then it could be that we're nearing the end of time. And what could happen is that the good people, the righteous people, the Gnostics, the people who can practice love and are more than happy to repent and be redeemed, they stick the landing. So the only people coming back are the powerful, the greedy, and the needy. And then things get even worse and worse and worse. Isn't that an interesting thought? Because good people won't be coming back anymore. Only hard-hearted people will be coming, and it'll become so miserable and so horrific. It would be kind of like hell. And even those people now, then even those people will go, well, I guess I was wrong. This isn't any fun at all. I want to go home. Please take me home. So when they die the next time, they'll stick the landing too. And so the earthly population will diminish until there's only just nobody left but the Demiurge at some point. And then he'll go, hey, where did we go? And he'll go, hey.
Interesting.
Hey. Yeah, that's my idea. I think it's a pretty good idea, don't you think?
I think it's a great idea. And to be honest with you, the way things are, I mean, you can see collapsing happening.
Yeah.
So, and great things come from collapses. You can only, you create from collapses, can't you? So maybe all this madness that's happening in the world is because it is the end. Maybe there is.
I've always had that feeling since I was a small child. I've been apocalyptic since I was about 4 years old. However, you got to be aware of using that motto that, you know, for things to get better, they need to collapse, because even the bad guys are using that motto, right? That's why they're tearing down the statues. They're ruining the countries. They're ruining the constitutions and the Magna Carta. They don't believe in any of it anymore because you got to tear it down in order to make it a glorious socialist republic. As if.
Yes, they're doing that, aren't they? Well, they're trying anyway.
Yep, they are.
They are definitely
but
trying.
We just have to love them. We have to love them and bring them along. Maybe it's a one-on-one thing. It is.
It's difficult to love Bill Gates, you know. I mean, I'm really struggling to love Bill Gates, I must admit. But I mean, I will do. You know, it's like, you know, there's just that whatever he's doing, I don't like.
No. And it's fine to admit that, but you need not carry hatred in your heart, because guess what? You can't do anything about it. That's one of the good things about, you know, judging powerful, rich people. Well, we're not going to do anything about it. So what's the point of wasting all that negative energy? Instead, turn your eyes upward. Thank God that you're here. Thank God you have a good home and children and a wife. Thank God that you have food to eat today. That's all we need.
Yeah.
That's all we need, you know. That's all. We just need our own little cocoon. We'd like it to be safe. That would be nice. But if it's not, God's will be done. Take me, Jesus, I'm coming home, you know. So
it's me and my wife have always said, we've always said it, we're not materialistic in the slightest. We're quite happy. We've got our dogs, we've got a roof, we're warm, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong, like a little extra not to be worrying about paying bills, but apart from that, we're quite happy, you know.
Well, this is one of the things where Jesus was helpful if you read the New Testament, just what's called the red letter edition, that's get a version of the Bible where everything Jesus said is in red letters. Or pick up a book called What Jesus Said, you know, and so that it's just quotes, and then forget all the other hooey around all the edges. You don't need all the other stuff. Just listen to Jesus. Jesus sent his people out without anything. All they had were the sandals on their feet. They had one cloak. They weren't even supposed to take any money. You know, they didn't have sleeping bags. They had nothing. He said, okay, go out, spread the word now. And they just trusted. They were supposed to trust that the Father would take care of them. And he does. He does.
Yeah. It's interesting that, because I always feel things come up like we could be panicking about paying a bill.
Oh yeah.
We might even miss it. We might even miss the bill, and we start panicking, about certain things. But something does come up.
Oh
It is like you are looked after. You are.
Yeah. Exactly. That happened to me so recently. Did you hear that one on my podcast where I spent a lot of money? I mean, we're talking many thousands of dollars. I spent to promote my children's book. Children of the Fullness, which is the first and only Gnostic children's book. It's so simple. It's written for like 2 to 6 year olds and their babysitters, and it's good enough. That's all you need to know. Oh, yes. Thank you. Very nice. So I spent thousands of dollars to promote that to librarians and to bookstores, and it wiped me completely out. Took me just almost down to zero in the checkbook and the savings account. And then the very next day, I get a phone call from my retirement. I'm retired, and I had moved the retirement. I don't know. Let's call it individual retirement account. Something your employer contributes for you. So, and you're not allowed to take it out until you're old. And so I moved it all out of stocks and bonds and into gold and silver during the pandemic, because I expected a complete economic crash. So I got a call the very next day after putting myself in the hole saying, I don't know if you've looked at the your retirement account now, but it's worth over twice as much as it was 3 years ago. And I said, what? Fantastic. And I'm suddenly old enough. I'm at the age where I'm actually required by law to begin drawing out the retirement. So I said, okay, give me that money. I didn't take all of it, but I took a goodly chunk, enough to pretend I hadn't just spent it all on the advertising. And that happened. That happened for me. I didn't earn that money. That was all inflation.
Wonderful.
So these are synchronicities. These are synchronicities of being looked after. And I'm glad to hear that you are looked after, Anne. That warms my heart. That is good.
Yeah, I always find that to be the case, no matter what challenging journey I find myself on, and it often is challenging, but I always feel that we always get through, and there's always love there anyway.
Right. And that's really all that we can expect out of this fallen world. And when you don't expect more, then you're not disappointed anymore. It's all good. It's all good. We're loved. Just remember that you're loved. And if you're ever feeling fearful, just turn your eyes upward and remember that you are loved. I am loved, you can say. Help me, that would be great, but I know that you love me. Help me be a better lover. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah. Do you feel that because if this is an illusion and a dream, because all there is we're imagining all the time, aren't we? This is all our imagination, really.
Right.
So, but we could change the dream if we wanted to.
Well, you mean radically change it? Like you are your thoughts and now I can project myself?
I don't know about radically changing it, but yeah, I mean, people might be able to do that. I feel I can't, but because I feel I've got a purpose and I can't steer off it too far.
Good.
I might be able to make some changes, but I feel that's my thing. Some people might be able to radically.
Well, the deal is, though, we're all entangled. It's a quantum physical universe. So we are literally entangled. We're entangled with the mind of the Demiurge, for one thing, because he built it. And so that's why we're here. That's why we're stuck in here. We're entangled with the Demiurge. So he's really running the show. Now, if you want to think that I will just imagine my own corner being different, you've also got entanglements with other people's and their expectations. And so we have all these forces working on us. However, there is a form of prayer where you imagine that thing. Of course, it has to be, first off, it's got to be God's will. We don't want to imagine something that is not in God's will and righteous. Remember, all things work together for good for those who love God. So we imagine it's God's will that a healing occurs, let's say. And you not only imagine it, but you begin to embody it in your mind in a meditative type state where it has occurred, where you begin to praise God for the healing. Not like, I hope it'll happen, please God. No, it's not that. It's like, praise God, healing, healing. It's like that. And that is supposed to be very effective type of prayer.
Right.
If you have a strong vision, if you have strong vision, you can steer towards that future where the vision is, unless there are particular Archons and Demiurge in your way throwing down roadblocks, which they're after me, I can tell you.
Oh, yeah. There's always a distraction, I find.
Yeah, yeah.
Always part of the
And
journey.
even the technical problems. Being a podcaster, I am beast. The Archons rule the media. Okay, they rule the electronics, they rule the computers, because that's the molecular, that's the mineral. They're not alive. So, by the way, artificial intelligence will never become alive. That is a false claim. That is demiurgic. So don't believe it out there, because it coming from the bottom up, it's molecular. It's built on the computer. It's not from the top down. Consciousness only comes from the top down, and it comes at the moment of conception, and then as life begins to unfold into that pre-imagined version of yourself. We're a lot more handsome and beautiful in heaven. And in the third order, we will be too.
I'm totally with you on that. Moving to time, consciousness, and the Cherry-Jello universe. I love this. So in consciousness and time, you describe the universe like a kind of cherry jello, a fluid, malleable, not fixed. What's the metaphor for, and why is it useful for understanding reality then?
Okay, so here's the thing. If consciousness is really all there is, then that means even above this second order fallen world that we live in, and the demiurge and all this going on down here, there's a larger reality of the mind of God. We've got the fullness of God, and we've got an even larger reality of the mind of God. So all possibilities are there.
Yeah.
Now, I call it the Cherry-Jello universe, because I want you to imagine that this infinite, actually larger than infinite, it's illimitable consciousness is just shot through with cherries, little cherries. So it's like a gigantic bowl of cherry jello. And they're jello because they're in fixed positions. And every possible occurrence is in that Cherry-Jello universe. Everything that the mind of God could have imagined, for all of us from the beginning of time, however long that's been, which is up for grabs, as we've determined.
It is.
But in any event, what we're doing with our consciousness is we're swimming from cherry to cherry. So my life is, I'm going to this cherry, I'm making, and cherry's another word for choice. Here's a choice. I'm choosing to do this rather than that. Okay, I've done this. Now I'm going to the next cherry. I'm going to do this rather than that. And each cherry leads to another one in this infinite bowl of cherries. And it's your consciousness driving the choices. But you could have gone that way instead of that way. You could have gone this way. You could have gone that way. You could have gone any way, because there's cherries for you in all directions. But you're going here, and you're going here, and you're going here. And if one were to look back, you've got time is what's collapsed behind you. There's no such thing as time, because it's all there. There's no time in the illimitable universe. Time is the measure between distances. So time only seems to be where there is a thing here and a thing there, and you're going from one place to another. And time is how long it takes to get there. But in the illimitable consciousness of the bowl of cherries, The only time is how long it takes you to get from one cherry to the next. And so your lifetime, your span of memories, is if you could look over your shoulder at all the cherries behind you, and you'd see your like
The
you'd
path.
see your trace, you'd see your
Yeah.
path through time. Isn't that cool? But in front of you, the choices haven't been made yet. And that's very quantum mechanical, because remember, something only happens when it's been observed. So you get to a cherry, you're observing it, and you collapse it, and then it becomes real. You swim to the next cherry, you observe that cherry, and you collapse it, and then it becomes real. Then it becomes that trace behind you. But in front of you, it's all unlimited potential.
Yes. I love that.
That's it. And so I thought of this, that I call it the Cherry-Jello Universe, because I thought of it many years ago, all on my own. And that's why I've always called it that. But just last year, I was reading an article that my brother sent me, and there's this thing called the block universe. It's a new quantum mechanical theory called the block universe. And I'll be gosh darn if it isn't the Cherry-Jello Universe. And they talk about all these choices, and that nothing collapses until you reach it, and it collapses, and all this. But they make the mistake of saying they drew the conclusion that everything is predetermined, because it's all there in the block. But it's not, because you have the free will to choose this cherry or that. See? So they've got the block universe part, but they haven't got the free will part. And free will is one of the characteristics we inherit from the eons. Life, love, consciousness, free will are all top-down phenomenon. And so look at the Demiurge. No free will. No, doesn't want you to think, doesn't want you to use logic. Right? They can't reason for crap, can they? Coming up from the bottom. That's why they can't, because they're coming up from the bottom, and it's not allowed.
Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I used to play on the computer. I used to play these adventure games, and you used to choose north, south, east, or west, and then you would choose which way you're going next, and that was your game. It was you just found yourself going through this adventure, and this is, in a way, this is life itself.
It is. Yeah.
And you're picking out your cherries. I'll have that. I'll go that way. I'll go that way, and I'll try this. And the observation then. Yeah. So one thing about the observation thing that gets me about quantum mechanics, I've often thought, how if there's an empty forest and a tree falls, does it fall? You know what I mean? It's like a bear shitting in the woods, isn't it? It's like, do you hear it? Does it happen? Because who's observing that?
Well, they are. You forget. All living things are second order powers. They've all got the fullness of God in them. I believe they're all cognizant to the level that they can. You know, we don't think with our brains.
No.
Oddly, we don't think with our brains, and our memories are not stored in our brains. They haven't been able to find it. So I think that our neurons and synapses and whatnot, they are useful for tuning in information.
Yes, I think it's like a receiver, isn't it? The brain.
Right. But did you know that even a person who's been born blind, who's been blind from birth, if they're having an out-of-body experience, they can see?
Wow,
So,
I didn't know that. I've not seen that. That's amazing.
See, that's pretty cool. So don't think that just because a tree falls in the forest and there's no human there, that nobody hears it. Everybody hears it in the forest. Just this morning, I was walking the yappy dog over there in the forest. Oh, the birds were so loud. They were deafening. It was so wonderful. So yeah, everybody thinks, everybody hears. They don't all think like we do. We are, we come through logos. We come from that eon logos. We are fractals of logos, basically, and our other eonic parents. So we have reason and logic and all that kind of stuff that humans are. But all of the other creatures are some combination of eons that are in the fullness of God. And so you know that they're a lot more aware of their surroundings than humans have ever given them credit before, and they're just starting to now. They, you watch a speeded up motion of flowers, and they're turning this way and they're turning that way and they're going like this and they're going like that. They really move a lot. And so everything moves a lot, and everything communicates. We know that there's this huge underground communication network with the mycelium and the mushroom roots.
That's right.
And the tree roots, and they can instantaneously communicate from one side of the forest to the other. Yeah, so there's a lot more going on at the living end of things. Only the life end, and then that really ticks the Demiurge off. He does not like us.
It's one of those things with time, because we assume time's linear, don't we? It's part of, obviously we watch this clock ticking, don't we? And we think that time's going on. It's so difficult sometimes for me to get my head around, really, because that's ingrained programming that from birth, really. And age as well. As we age and we face, our face get older, we get gray hair or whatever, that's time moving on in a way. But it's so hard to kind of explain to people that the whole thing's an illusion.
It is. It's all an illusion. And it's not really time that's causing us to age. It's the Demiurge, because he's trying to kill us all the time. It's called a never-ending war down here. And it's not just war against other people or anything. It's life against death. It's just trying to stay alive is part of the never-ending war. And so trying to stay healthy, trying to stay youthful, we have no control over any of that. You just gotta go with the flow, ride with the tide.
Yeah, keep smiling.
And keep smiling. Yeah, but but I hope, it is my hope that when I get to the other side, it's all going to be good. Obviously, it's going to be good.
I can't imagine why
it has to be. In the Gnostic Gospel, it says the only things that will not be in heaven, the only things that do not, when this earth rolls up or dissolves like snow, whatever metaphor you want to use, when it goes away, the only things that aren't going up are things that did not exist from the beginning. So everything that's in the mind of God has to by definition be still in the mind of God. God's not going to segment it away or throw it or kick it out. It's impossible. It's not within the nature of God to lose pieces. And so the only things that are going to pass away are the shadows, the Archons, and the Demiurge will repent and rejoin Logos, and it'll all be good.
Yeah. Speaking of time, though, still, so how does consciousness relate to time then? Is it outside of time? Is it beyond time? I mean, if time doesn't exist then.
Right. There is no such thing as time. There's certainly no time in the illimitable consciousness. So if we are residing in the mind of God, ultimately, there is no time. No. There's just here. It's just here. The Demiurge is creating that. Right. It's only ever here and now, as they be here now, Baba Ram Das. Yes, there is only here now. Everything else is an illusion. You can't count on anything in the future, and the past is gone. Forget about it. It's too late now. So just stay here now. And under the glory beam.
Well, that's what I think. It's almost for me. For me, I just feel it here in my heart. If I'm meant to be doing this, I'm meant to be having this conversation with you, Cyd. Do you know what I mean? I know that because I feel it.
Yeah.
I'm meant to go on that rally on Saturday.
Right.
I'm meant to do that. I would.
Oh yeah.
So it's like who was I speaking to the other day? If I don't do this, it's like I have free will. Okay, I've got free will. I could choose quite easily to not get involved with this digital ID nonsense that's happening in the UK right now. I could choose to just, you know, watch TV instead and not bother, you know. But I know on my deathbed, I'm going to regret that.
Right.
So there's that choice doesn't exist in me really. I could do it, but the whatever's inside of me will not allow me to do that. So how much free will I have, I know I've got no choice. That's what I'm saying. I have to do this.
Right. You have free will, but you choose to do the things that you're being called to do. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you could refuse to do them. And, you know, people do, by the way. Remember, when people begin to develop bad habits or vices, they've got the angel and the devil, you know, and, oh, just this once, it'll be okay. And, oh, no, but you shouldn't. And if you keep going with the demiurgic side, this guy shuts up and says, okay, go for it then, whatever. And then you don't have, and at that point, you no longer have free will because you have an addiction at that point. So it's always best to exercise your free will and to be doing God's will. That's not to say that we don't have free will, but why not do God's will if it's giving you all the goodies? It's better.
Exactly, yeah. And we are having this human experience, and it is tricky because we, like I say, that it's a very deceptive place, isn't it? And a very tricky place. So we like you say, the demiurge is going to put those trinkets in front of us and tempt us. There's going to be temptation all the time, and it's hard sometimes, isn't it? As addiction is a problem. People are addicted, aren't they? They're looking for escape, aren't they? You know, a lot of people are traumatized, and then they find themselves on a path of addiction. Yeah. And it's hard for them to come back or get off that path. Right. They've lost themselves. They become disassociated, don't they?
Exactly.
They forget who they are.
Exactly. They forget who they are. All of us forget to some extent because we are born with the memory of the fullness of our aeonic parents. We know the whole story when we're born, but then the disappointments and the delusion begins to build up, and the delusion gets very thick. Yeah. But for me, it's like, I have expectations that certain things will happen, and that they will eventually happen. Like I'm a scholar. I always figured I'd get a PhD someday, but I wound up not getting my PhD until like 20 years after everybody else that I graduated with, you know. So I did a lot of other stuff in the meanwhile, but I never worried, oh, am I ever going to get a PhD? Oh, I hope. No, I just expected I would. And then when the time was right, I did it, right? It presented itself and it was just perfect. Now, I tried to break into Hollywood about 40 years ago, and I almost broke into Hollywood, but then the whole thing crashed. Now, had I broken into Hollywood 4 years ago, would I have been a Gnostic by now? No, I'd have been some Hollywood schmuck, some rich person whose house burned down in the Palisades, you know. That's what I would have been. I would have been misguided. I would have led a material life if I had made it 40 years ago. But I've always expected I'm going to make it one of these days. So I still expect it to happen. And I am currently still expecting it to happen. So, and I also have this vision that I am going to take a big road trip across America with my boxes of books and put my books out in bookstores and libraries and give talks all across America. I keep having this vision that I've had this vision for like at least 10 years now. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. I figure it will, because it's the vision. Because that's the thing. I want to do that.
Yeah, you
right now I'm looking. I can't afford it, I think. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to. If you ever get over to the UK, we'll set up something, and you can bring a load of books, and you can do it. That would be great.
And do you have a spare bedroom?
Yes, you can stay at our house.
Okay.
You can stay here. Right.
I'll count on that.
You'll just have to deal with our dogs and cat.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. Can I ask you a couple of questions on sort of mythology, and Gnosis and true self
All
kind
right.
of stuff, really.
All right.
So traditional spiritual paths often speak of awakening the divine spark kind of thing, and remembering, as we said, our true origin beyond the physical.
Yeah.
How does that differ from sort of, do you think, from sort of mainstream spiritual new age kind of thoughts? How does that?
Well, see, some people, when they think of awakening yourself or awakening your divine spark, it's as if they believed that they were the source of the divine spark. So I think I agree, we do need to awaken our divine spark, but we can't claim that it's ours. It actually comes from above and it's flowing into me. Because the main thing that stands in the way of enlightenment is our egos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, who needs Christ, or, oh, Jesus, all of this kind of, that's your ego talking. It's our ego that thinks, I don't need anybody else. I certainly don't need any angel or any savior. No, that's ego saying that, because they are full of themselves. And their ego is on the throne, just like happened with Logos. So they are playing out the fall of Logos, and Logos not being able to do its thing, but the ego took over, and here we are in this crummy version of universe, of the cosmos. So that's the problem. You have to truly get ego off the throne, and if you really can get ego off the throne, then you will be able to embody the divine spark. Although, being a Christian, you see, I always say to people, well, if you're not willing to, say to Jesus, I repent, please save me, well, then you've still got ego on the throne, to me, because that's my orientation.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's interesting. That's interesting. It's New Age. There seems to be a bit of a fallacy with New Age, I find.
yeah.
And they almost give away their power all the
Yeah.
time, in a way. It's almost like la-di-da kind of. I know we need love, and it's all about love, and I get it, but there's almost not a respect for the fact that we are in a difficult place as well, and that we have to
Yeah.
navigate this place.
Well, yeah. Also, I just read an article. Hold on, let me get that. Oh, never mind. Can't find it. Okay, I read an article about how New Age belief can actually lead a person to be less giving, less loving, because they believe they have the power. See, it's not your power, so it's not your love.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm such a loving person. I give my love to you. No, that's not it. We're merely conduits of divine love, and you have to accept the divine spark.
Yes, that resonates completely with me. That makes sense. There's one thing I was going to ask you on regarding asking for help in terms of angels or a divine. Now, if the Demiurge, this is his place, this is his, which clearly it is, because look at the state of the place.
Just look around, right?
Just look around, yeah. How do you know you are communicating with a divine essence rather than a trickster?
Exactly. I happen to think that a lot, if not most people that think that they are channeling a divine entity are not. They're just channeling an archon of the Demiurge. An archon, by the way, is the kind of evil version of an archangel. So an archon is one of the Demiurge's minions. And it's their job to fool us. It's their job to ensnare and fool. So the way I tell the difference is, how do you feel? You talk about your feelings. How do you feel? Because God's love is uplifting. It's empowering. It creates courage and hope. You know, look at what a good, listen to me. I'm such a goody two shoes, right? It's all of this. It's all of this all the time. It's upward. It's divine.
Yeah.
It's loving upward. It's not, I'm going to cast a magic spell now and burn these incense and candles and chant, and then I will be in contact with my divine entity. No, that isn't it. That's down here. That's here or down. God is onward and upward. It's always upward. And the eons are up there. So you have to be looking up. You have to be feeling up and being pulled up.
Yes.
I don't know if that's enough to say.
Yeah,
my voice is drying out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, it does make sense to me, because it's, again, you know, within yourself. It's a gnosis as well, isn't it? That in that way, that you know.
Well, then how? But and so the people that think they're channeling an angel when they're channeling an archon, they think they know.
Well, that's true. Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. But that is a problem.
Vibe, it's the vibe. The vibe is different. You know, it's not because, yeah.
I had a podcast recently with a friend of mine who he's a great guy, actually, and we discussed about how mediums are connecting with more of a dangerous entity rather than loved ones. You know, it was a really fascinating conversation, and I could see that, because it's a tricky place, and I know that I do Reiki, but I was taught in a New Age way initially, which I don't do anymore. And it was almost you bring in angelic forces into the healing. You know, and but that I'm no longer comfortable with that. I don't do that kind of Reiki anymore. I literally am the conduit for the divine and the love, and I feel that come through me. I don't need to ask, because I don't know who I'm asking. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what I'm asking.
No, we're too easily fooled. Man, they've got their tricks down. They really do.
Oh yeah, big time, big time.
Now, I of course, it's easy for me to say, because I believe in Jesus and the Christ. And so, and by the way, a lot of Gnosticism is Christian. It's like I say, Jesus was Gnostic. And when he said, I and my Father are one, he's talking about this cosmology that I've been discussing with you, that they ripped out of the Bible. So, so I'm not personally worried about it, because I am protected by Christ. I have asked the third order of powers, that is the army of Christ is actually an army of love.
Yes.
And it's Christ's army of love. I ask for the third order powers to infuse me from the Christ. And I'm always upward to Jesus and to Christ. And I know Jesus, I've known Jesus very well for, over 60 years. So I'm not being fooled. Yeah, although I can imagine some naysayers saying, oh, that's what you think. But no, I don't think so.
Before we close off, and obviously I love chatting to you, Cyd, and I could chat all night. And it's an interesting time that we're in. I know we're saying time's an illusion, but this point of where we are, humanity, is very fascinating.
Yes.
And we've got a lot going on in the UK. I suspect it's going to be lockstep all over the world. So it's probably going to reach you guys at some point anyway as well. But this all moves into, now we touched on AI very, very briefly before, and this is where I'm leading with it. Everything is moving towards this transhumanism situation now, this agenda.
Right.
You know, Musk has been pushing it for quite some time. Trump's
Yeah.
pushing it. They're all pushing it,
Right.
which is so anti-human.
Exactly. It's totally demiurgic. No doubt
Isn't
about
it?
it. And the more sophisticated the technology becomes, the deeper the delusions can be. Until you could wind up in a place like the Matrix where there's no, there's no life whatsoever. You're just lying there and being fed,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very disappointing that Musk and Trump are going in that direction. The
Yeah.
transhumanism is not of God.
Well, it can't be. It's anti-God. It's anti
Yes.
everything that is divine, because even if this place is, as we've been discussing, there's no material, there's still love here.
Right.
That removes love, because
Right.
a computer can't love. AI can't
Exactly.
love. It can't
Exactly.
do it, because it's not conscious. It's not got consciousness. Can't do
That's
it.
right. That's right. And it can't come to consciousness because consciousness only comes from above. Consciousness is the difference between hard, rocky places and minerals and computers and living things. That's the entire difference. It's this consciousness factor. Consciousness love. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this demiurge, you think this push for control, this control that we're this always been around, but
Oh,
it's more so these past
yeah.
5 years. This isn't aimed at keeping people trapped in the illusion, then, really. The demiurge illusion.
It is the demiurgic illusion. He wants us to be. I mean, I think the demiurge really would like us to be in the Matrix that way. The Matrix, literally, like the movie. That would be his ultimate goal. Download our so-called consciousness, get rid of these messy bodies. Of course, we don't need the trees and the plants either, because he's entirely mineral. He's entirely mineral. So that would be all he needs. And in we know the book of Revelations that ends the Bible talks about end times, and it's very difficult to understand and read, but there is a time where Jesus will come back, because it says that Satan, as they call it in the Bible, but we would say the demiurge, will have us so deeply deluded through lies and fantasy that if it were possible, even the Gnostics would be deceived. It says it right there. And so how is that going to happen? Well, I think that is virtual reality. That is AI. I mean, I can't tell. By the way, I get a lot of AI generated emails, and I can't hardly tell them from the real thing. Usually I can. I'm starting to catch on because that AI is so clever and witty and funny, a lot funnier than we are. But so that the Christ will say, okay, I'm putting my foot down. This is it. Time to call the game. So it's not in our control. That's something we don't really have to worry about, Ant, because it's not in our control. We are not the Christ. We just can say, oh, I hope everything comes soon, or I hope you're in control here. I know you are. Please, Jesus, take me home. That's about the best we can do. And just put it in God's hands, because it's bigger than us, and God will eventually take over and yank that demiurge out.
Well, we certainly can say that we do not comply, or we can say no to going along with that. I mean, you'll know in yourself, won't you, to refuse it. It's just,
well, remember, there were martyrs. That's what's called a martyr. I mean, it might come the day. Well, and there are currently martyrs, in certain African nations. Religious people are being killed for having belief in God. And we know that socialism, communism does not want anyone to believe in God, because the state takes over all those duties and responsibilities of caring for you. And that's just the demiurge. You can see it's just exactly, these are fractals of this whole demiurgic thing. It's the same story over and over.
It's fascinating.
So
but
you have to resist. You cannot give up. And if resistance means, you know, finding yourself in a mass grave someday, so what? Next thing you know, you'll be in heaven. So it's okay.
Yeah. No, it's right, and I think that's a really important way to end the discussion. You know, the fact that we must stay strong to ourselves and remember who we are and where
Well,
we
you have
really
to.
come from.
You have to. That's right. Life's not worth living if you can't do that. Thank you, Aunt.
Indeed. Thank you, Cyd. So before we close off, do you want to let people know about your books? Have you got one behind you? Is that one that's behind
Yeah,
you there?
that's a plug there. That's the Gnostic Gospel Illuminated. That was my first Gnostic book. It's now 10 years old.
Yes.
And these are all available on Amazon, but I've got other books that are available. They should be available at bookstores at this point. So if you want to order the children's book,
Lovely.
the paperback's only $9.99 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can get it on Kindle if you have a Kindle subscription for free, or $3. So that's no big deal. And then this is the book that was before the children's book, A Simple Explanation of the Gnostic Gospel. Now, this is the big book. It's all here in linear form, fully illustrated. And you will understand Gnosis, literally, if you read this book from one side to the other. And it's got all the explanations in there. So I hope that you pick it up.
Well, we'll put some links in the show notes below so people can they buy them via your website, Cyd, or do they go straight to Amazon?
They should go, well, yeah, some of them I publish through lulu.com, some of them through Amazon. But the children's book and the Simple Explanation of the Gnostic Gospel, those should be available to be ordered through your local bookstore, because they're also on what's called Ingram. So don't worry about that. Just go and ask for it. Or beg your library to stock it.
Well, so they should. Yeah, so they should. And it'd be great if we can get your books into schools. How wonderful that would be.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. And so by the way, my podcast that you're going to put the links to, it's called Gnostic Insights, like having an insight. So it's Gnostic Insights. That's a podcast on all the podcast hosts. And then I also have a Substack. Just look me up, Cyd Ropp there. And you can get the audio and transcript versions on Substack too. It's a weekly. It's been up for 5 years now. I can't believe I'm doing this for 5 years. I'm exhausted. I got to hit the road. I want to hit the road with my boxes of books. That's what I want to do.
It. You need to come over to the UK with some books, and we'll set up an event.
Okay.
And you can stay here.
All right. That's super.
Cyd, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope we do this again. And much love to you. I always love chatting to you.
Yes, much love to you too and your family. Thank you, Aunt.